6,117 days. That's how long it had been since Syracuse beat Maryland. The Orange also hadn't beaten the number one team in 9 years. John Tillman, 8-0 against Syracuse. The Terps embarrassed the Orange at championship weekend last year, and now the script has been rewritten. Number 2 Syracuse takes down number 1 Maryland 11-9 in front of more than 10,000 fans inside the Dome tonight. We've got the analysis, the reaction, and much more. This is Orange Press Pass, and it starts right now. A warm welcome inside our CitrusTV studio, everybody, alongside Nick King, Ryan Croke. I'm Andrew Piana. Thank you so much for joining us. And fellas, what a game this was. Syracuse finally exercises the Demons in an 11-9 victory over Maryland. Ryan, I'll go to you first for your first thoughts for this exciting victory for the Orange.
Well, it has to be on everybody's mind. Maybe this is finally the year they win the national championship. It's been too long. Here's the thing with a win like this. It's about as big of a confidence booster as you could ever get. You talked about it. Over 6,000 days since they've beaten Maryland. And that's a streak that you obviously have wanted to break for quite some time. You finally get over the hump today. And the sights have always been on that trophy, but it felt like Maryland's always been in the way. They've gotten over that hump. What hump stands in their way next? That's the question that people have to ask.
You're talking about getting over humps. How about getting monkeys off your back? And with that, for me, my first thought is the Spallina slander needs to stop. The entire narrative surrounding Joey Spallina has been that he can't perform well when it matters most against ranked teams. You saw it last year against Maryland and the NCAA semis. Had just one goal. Against the number one team last year, Cornell, had just one goal. Tonight, he had 4. He was spectacular. He silenced all the haters, and he silenced me as well.
He certainly did, Nick. And instead of talking about it, let's see how it went down inside the JMA Wireless Dome tonight. This game was a whole lot of fun to watch. North Carolina in women's lacrosse was in the Dome a little bit earlier. And now a number 1 team on the men's side comes to the Dome. And it was actually Maryland who got the scoring started thanks to the Yale transfer in Leo Johnson to make it 1-0 Maryland. And how about this? Wyatt Hoddle, 3 points in this one for the 5'7" kid, making a whole lot of magic in front of the net. But don't forget about number 1 for Maryland, Eric Spanos, that highly touted number 1 spot. And that's when the Joey Spallina show started to get going, Ryan.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. And Nick talked about it. This guy has had a monkey on his back forever. Can he beat the good teams? And he had a great game today.
4 goals for Joey to give Syracuse a 3-2 advantage there. And then you add on to that end of the first half, Spallina puts home another for his 22nd career hat trick, all 3 in 3 games this season. And Syracuse taking a nice little 7-4 advantage into halftime. But you know John Tillman, he always knows a way to take down Syracuse. They came out firing in that second half. It's Eric Spanos again to make it a 1-goal game 5 minutes into that third quarter. But guess who again? Joey Spallina answering, and doing so with the off-hand. He switches from right to left to get his 15th career 4-goal game. And the Orange maybe creating a little bit of separation, but that's when faceoffs started to take over a little bit more, Nick.
Yeah, Syracuse won 9 straight faceoffs in the first half. Maryland responded with 9 straight of their own, and it really tilted the tide.
It definitely did. Braden Erksa getting the goal there to make it back to a 2-goal game. But how about an unsung hero in Bogan Hahn? Both of his parents played at Maryland. He gives Syracuse a 2-goal lead with 7.5 to go. And that would be the entire scoring for the rest of this game because Jimmy McCool, phenomenal in that fourth quarter. A diving stop by Chuck Kaczynski to boot. And the Orange take this one 11-9 over Maryland to finally get over the hump of beating these Terps. And for Gary Gait, it has to feel so good, especially for guys like Spallina and Leo, who have been here for 4 years and finally get a victory over this team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can see that it means more that they beat this team as opposed to any other random opponent. It especially helps that they just happen to be the number 1 team in the nation at the time. It's a huge momentum booster for this team.
Yeah, this team is in quite the mojo, and I'm looking at Wyatt Hoddle right now. 2 goals for the 3rd straight game. Had just 7 last season. He's been a spark plug for this offense early on.
He definitely has. He had that phenomenal assist to Peyton Anderson Larson in that second quarter as well. And now to answer some of our questions from today's phenomenal game, we bring in our men's lacrosse beat reporter, Jake Klein, who is live inside the Dome. Jake, this was a game full of matchups, but I think the one we were most excited to see, Joey Spallina versus Will Schaller, was a headline last year when Spallina only had 1 point. What was the biggest difference from last year to this year for Spallina's point of view?
Well, Andrew, I think the biggest difference was that Joey Spallina got Will Schaller off of his back a little bit. He had followed him everywhere Spallina went in that semifinal game in the NCAA tournament last year, and as you said, held him to just 1 point. Tonight, Syracuse ran a little bit of a different offense. They used the pick game a lot. Peyton Anderson in particular helped get Spallina free from Schaller. Different matchups, whether it was a short stick or just a non-Will Schaller long pole, they got Joey Spallina away from 27 in black, and that made all the difference once he had his hands free.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Jake. I was at the women's lacrosse game earlier, and as I was leaving, I saw a whole bunch of fans parading into the Dome. Looked like it was an electric crowd tonight. What was the atmosphere like?
It was good, Ryan. I think to some degree it was tense. I think a lot of people expected and started to kind of feel late in that fourth quarter like, oh boy, here comes Maryland. Remember, Syracuse led at the half in the regular season game between these two teams last year. Syracuse almost had a win in the regular season against Maryland 2 years ago, and it started to feel a little bit like, okay, here we go again. So I think for the first 3.5 quarters, it was a little tense, even though there were over 10,000 people here in the Dome, and most of them were rooting on Syracuse. But once Peyton Anderson caused that turnover on the ride, the first failed clear of the day for Maryland, kept the ball with Syracuse with under 3 minutes to go, then the fans could start to taste it, and the last few minutes were pretty much a party in the Dome.
Yeah, Cenk, thanks so much for joining us. Andrew said it at the top of the show. Syracuse hadn't beaten Maryland in nearly 17 years. Gary Gait 0-5 against the Terps. What did he say about finally toppling Maryland right now?
Yeah, Nick, Gary was asked, and all the players who spoke, Chuck Kaczynski, Joey Spallina, Michael Leo, they were all asked, does it feel like you have a weight off your shoulders at all? Gary Gait said no, and I thought Michael Leo's answer to that question was the best. He said, look, for 3 years, we've been chasing becoming the number one team. Now we are the number one team. It doesn't stop there. If anything, they have to take it up a notch because now instead of chasing that number one spot, for the first time since 2020, they're in that number one spot.
Jake, thank you so much for joining us. Safe travels back to Citrus TV. And Syracuse does get the job done in an 11-9 victory over Maryland. We'll take a short break here on Orange Press Pass, but when we come back, we'll dive in a little deeper into the X's and O's in this one and take you around the country and around the ACC as the lacrosse season get in the heart of getting underway. Welcome back to our Citrus TV studios. Nick King, Ryan Croke, Andrew Della, Piana. Still rolling along here on Orange Press Pass following number 2 Orange's 11-9 victory over the number 1 Terrapins in a thriller inside the Dome today. But there was not just action inside the Dome, but there was a whole lot of action going around the country as well. And, you know, it's 25 degrees outside in winter, but there's still some college lax to be played. What are the big games that stand out from this Saturday, my friends?
Well, how about that number 14 Penn State and number 3 Princeton matchup? Princeton, a team that Syracuse has to face coming down the line. Penn State came into the year at number 7 and lost to Villanova. Just an embarrassing loss for that team. I'll be really interested to see how Princeton plays there, though.
Yeah, Princeton also going on to face Maryland shortly thereafter on Saturday. And for me, it's Nate Kabiri, the Tewaaraton watch list for Princeton. He was spectacular last year, has a chance to up his campaign this season as Princeton hopes to make a push to championship weekend.
Yeah, no more Coulter Mackesy on the Princeton side. So that contingent of Syracuse, Maryland, Princeton, those 4 seem like they're kind of destined for the championship weekend, if you will. Now let's get a little bit smaller into the ACC, if you will. This conference, once again, loaded like it always does. North Carolina, the big victory over High Point, but a big matchup tomorrow. Virginia against Richmond, one of the sneakier programs in the country right now.
Yeah, Virginia has played big brother to Richmond's little brother throughout time. I mean, Virginia is 10-2 all time against Richmond, and UVA has some history on the line. It can be the 100th career win for head coach Lars Tiffany. But Richmond, don't sleep on the Spiders. They're a sneaky good team.
Yeah, well, the Who's are looking for a big bounce back here after a disastrous season last year, and then Richmond's another team with a lot of questions around them. That's going to be a very, very interesting game.
A-10 is pretty weak, though. I think Richmond is the clear favorite. That's where they were pricked to win preseason. I think Richmond actually beats Virginia. I like this Spiders team a lot this year. Sneaky pick to make the Final Four.
They nearly took down Duke last year before Georgetown eventually lost to those Duke Blue Devils. But back in here in this matchup where the Orange were fighting with the Terrapins all throughout, and a big catalyst that I think we have to talk about, the massive elephant in the room, is number 22, Joey Spallina. It's been mentioned that he's had some serious problems against top 5 teams, Maryland in specific. Remember, guys, just last year, he had 1 point in that Final Four game. So much better this time around, Ryan. He looked so much more confident out there.
He looked so calm. He looked so comfortable. And for a guy who's had those questions around him, can he play against those top-tier opponents when you need a guy with his talent to play well? Well, he answered that question today. He can. And what I love about this is he wasn't really in that playmaker role. He was their primary goal scorer. And that's a big question I have about this team. You lose Owen Hiltz. Who's your primary goal scorer? Who's the guy who you need a big-time goal? Who's going to go out and get it for you? I didn't believe Spallina could be that guy coming into the season, but a performance like this might just change my mind.
And he was completely efficient, and you know what? He had that swagger. We got sent a video pre-show about from Milo Hoffman, who's also one of the women's lacrosse beat reporters, saw this team entering through the tunnel, and they were yelling,
ready to go.
They were rowdy, they were excited, and they carried that confidence, and that was led by Spallina. You see it on your screen. His averages against Maryland averaged just 1 goal, had 4 tonight. He had played 4 games against Maryland, had 4 goals his entire career against the Terps. Tonight he matches that, and he had 3 through the first 20 minutes.
And about every other game, it feels like Spallina is getting to 3-4 goals. But tonight, the guy just looked like a different animal out there.
Well, yeah, it's his season right now. I mean, Spallina, 22, that class, it's his last dance. He needs to be the alpha on this team. No Owen Hiltz, it's got to be Spallina.
He's definitely getting some serious help as well, but not only on the offensive side, but the defensive side as well. Jimmy McCool is also part of that pretty big unit on the back line there with Billy Juan and Riley Figueresu. In that first quarter, guys, very impressive. And you talk about a Maryland team that has had some phenomenal talent over the last couple of years, including Eric Spanos. The Orange defense was up to the task today.
Yeah, they were fantastic, Andrew. I was severely impressed with the Syracuse team. Going in, the defense was the biggest question mark for me this season because you didn't really know how it would match up. It struggled last year against the nation's premier teams. We remember how poorly it looked against C.J. Kirsten Cornell. Remember how much it bent and sometimes broke last year against the nation's top teams. You think about that ACC regular season wrap-up against North Carolina inside the Dome. But tonight, they were just dominant. The fewest goals allowed against the #1 team since 2011. That was an 11-8 victory over Notre Dame. And they were just completely all over Maryland. They did not give them any room to breathe.
Yeah, well, this is a Maryland team I had winning it all coming into the season. And it's mainly because this is a team that builds its brand off playing tougher than the opponent. Syracuse was the tougher team today at many points in this game, and Maryland gave them a fight down the stretch. But I loved what I saw out of this defense. They were in control of the game, and this is a Maryland team that's almost always in control.
And a good team like Maryland, what do? They disrupt you. They disrupt your offense. We saw early on, like against BU, Syracuse kind of struggled with the clears. Sure, they got it done, but it was ugly. Tonight, 20 of 21, pure domination, clean lacrosse. That's exactly what you expect if you want to win the national championship.
I think, Ryan, Ryan, you bring up a good point about that physicality. That was such an important aspect that Gary Gate talked about last year in those freezing cold conditions down in College Park. They definitely brought it today. Something that was a little bit more even, though, was that face-off battle. John Mullen and Henry Dodge, they were kind of playing tennis, if you will, going back and forth of consecutive face-off wins. That didn't feel like a place where Syracuse had to dominate today, but it was more of a spot where they had to control to still get a good amount of time of possession.
Yeah, well, it was a back and forth game in that column. You talk about 9 straight for SU, then 9 straight for Maryland, and that sort of helped Maryland come back into the game. But I look at the face-off disparity from half to half and say that's a positive for the SU defense. Another reason to be excited about what this team did today on that side of the ball, because you do lose 9 straight face-offs, and at no point did I ever feel like they were out of control of the game.
No, not at all. But you also have to look at who Johnny Mullen was going up against. I mean, it's Henry Dodge. He led the entire country last year in face-off percentage, transferred in from Vermont, won 70% at the X last season, and Mullen held his own. He was 11 of 21. Yeah, sure, both sides went on runs, but he did enough for Syracuse to be in this game, and that's the big thing, Ryan. I think it was more important that Mullen got them at the beginning when Syracuse got its swagger going, as opposed to towards the end if it needed to come back.
Definitely an important part of the game that Syracuse had a little bit more of an advantage of, but the guy we've been talking about a whole lot already, Joey Spallina, he comes in as your player of the game. And again, the conversations have been had about Joey Spallina. The guy can't perform in the big game. He can't play big in the biggest moments. Well, 22 put on an absolute show today. 4 goals, 3 of them coming in the first half to really silence all those doubters. Remember when he said last year after that quarterfinal victory against Princeton, I guess we can win the big game? Well, Joey Spallina definitely showed up in a big way today. Didn't have a single assist, but, you know, the facilitator, he's got to put the ball in the back of the net sometimes. Also had 5 ground balls as well. For Joey Spallina, get your Orange Press Pass player of the game with that full goal performance in the victory over Maryland. All right, one more break here on Orange Press Pass, but when we come back, let's dive into the film room with Nick and Ryan about how the Orange got things done to finally take down Maryland for the first time since 2009.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back into Orange Press Pass. I'm Andrew Della, Piana. We've gotten a whole lot of analysis so far, but the great thing about diving into a post-game show, you dive into those X's and O's, and now it's time for one of my favorite segments. It's time for the film room. Let's bring it out.
And you take a look at this replay angle right here. Gill's got a wide open lane to the end zone. Welcome into the film room. We've heard a lot about him all show long. Joey Spallina's several goals today were a key difference for the Orange, and this is one that stood out to me. Pause it right here. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 Maryland defenders all around him, and this is an issue with Joey Spallina over the years. Does he have the confidence in himself in these big spots? Number 1 team in the nation. I don't believe in him as a goal scorer. Can he prove me wrong here? Let's take a look. Absolutely yes. Unbelievable goal from Joey Spallina. Let's look at it one more time. He breaks around the pick. He sees this long pull come in. He still goes right at him and fires it in with all sorts of Terps around him. It's unbelievable to see Joey Spallina take that extra step with his confidence. But how about the SU defense? Eric Spanos, guy I picked to win the Tewaaraton, gets absolutely hounded by Kittleberger out there, forced all the way to X. Maryland finding no options here. A critical point in the game, 4 minutes to go, down 2. Terps have to work it all the way around the horn. Still the physicality from the Orange defense here. They end up getting a really difficult shot, and it's just not something that Maryland's offense wants in any way.
Yeah, Ryan. I mean, Joey Spallina has been absolutely spectacular. But another guy that's been spectacular for this team is Wyatt Hoddle. The 5'7" attacker has been absolutely spectacular. You look at it right here. Wyatt Hoddle working on the defense, rolls behind Cage and begins to move around the crease and finds Peyton Anderson for a beautiful feed. We're going to slow it down for you right now on Orange Press Pass, and we're going to pause it right here. Syracuse right now has its offense set up far away from the perimeter. That allows Peyton Anderson to move inside. You see these Maryland heads. They're one's pointing that way, one's looking behind. There's a clear miscommunication. And the thing for Syracuse has been that, well, Joey Spallina has been the facilitator. Well, what happens when Joey Spallina can't facilitate? What happens when there's 2 or 3 guys guarding number 22? Well, you need somebody else to fill that hole. Syracuse has lacked that in the past. Owen Hiltz was a score, shoot-first attacker. Joey Spallina mainly look towards him. Michael Leo, yeah, he's great, but he plays towards the midfield. Right now, you need somebody else. And who's that going to be? That's going to be Wyatt Hoddle. Sure, he's undersized. Sure, he's not a senior. Sure, he wasn't part of that class. But guess what? He's proven himself so far through 3 games, and we can continue to roll it. As it continues to slow down, he finds the perfect moment right as the Maryland player moves out of the way, sneaks it into goal, and that was a huge, huge play for Syracuse. Put them up by a plethora of goals, and we're going to have our second play here. It can't all be good for Syracuse. It has to be a little bit bad, and it's Braden Urksa behind Cage just trying to find somebody. He's working from X, rolls around the crease, falls down on a foul, and look at that. Jimmy McCool, a chance to save it, just skips right past his feet. That just can't happen if you're Syracuse. And we're going to pause it right when he rolls around the crease. You see him taking his time, and we're going to pause it right here. Jimmy McCool is in a perfect position right now to make this save. That is exactly where you want to be, on the inside post, okay? It is hard. The hardest shot in lacrosse is working here and firing it right into that top left corner. Jimmy McCool, that is a save that he has to make, especially if you're going to foul. If you're Syracuse, we can continue to roll it, and we just see the ball dribble magically under his stick. Listen, this did not hurt Syracuse. Syracuse, of course, won this game 11-9. However, as this team moves forward towards more ranked opponents, Syracuse does have to improve, but that was not the moment of the game. Andrew, back at the wall, has our moment of the game. Andrew, what do you got?
Yeah, it's going to be tough to top that. Some great analysis from my guys, Ryan and Nick. But yes, let's dive into our moment of the game. And it's not always a big save or a big goal, if you will, but a big play down the stretch. And it came in the final 2.5 minutes left in this fourth quarter. Syracuse up by 2. Peyton Anderson forces a phenomenal caused turnover. Yes, the attacker working all the way back into the midfield on the ride gets it done to force that miscue by the Maryland defense, and that after Syracuse had a 90-second possession. They wasted a lot of clock, up by 2, but then Anderson gets the ball back for the Cuse. They get that possession, kill 90 more seconds, and Maryland did not get another really good look in those final couple of minutes because of that big play by Peyton Anderson in our moment of the game. And there was plenty of moments in this game for Syracuse to pick up an 11-9 victory over UMD to finally get rid of those demons for the first time in 17 years. It's time for our final break here on Orange Press Pass. But when we come back, it's time for my analysts to sound off and give their final takes from this good one between the Orange and the Terps.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Putting a bow on things from our CitrusTV studios, Nick King, Ryan Croke, Andrew Della, Piana still rolling along with you here on Orange Press Pass after the Orange take down the Terrapins 11-9 for a phenomenal game inside the Dome today. And now that the Orange have moved to 3-0, guys, Ryan mentioned it. It might be time to looking at national championship aspirations for this team as we do look at that upcoming schedule, which, again, it doesn't get any easier. Look, the schedule later on in the year for Gary Gate already feels impossible, but now you go on the road to that tough environment in the cold, outdoors against Harvard. We mentioned that big matchup against Princeton, and then you get maybe a couple of easier games against Penn and Johns Hopkins, but Harvard and Princeton, just like that in the Ivy, that's some tough stuff.
Yeah, well, that Harvard game is one that I look at because it's one they lost a season ago. An Orange team I heard all about, how great they were, how far they were going to go, and that was one that raised some eyebrows. That's a game that I think they really have to win their first trip outside. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah, Syracuse has traditionally struggled in the outdoors. Obviously, they play inside the Dome, duh. But with that said, Harvard and Princeton are two games where we'll learn a lot about this team. First trip on the road, two very quality teams in the Ivy League. You get a break against Penn, but I think this Johns Hopkins team coming to the Dome in early March could provide a little bit of adversity for this Syracuse team. Hopkins, always nitty-gritty, finds a way to win some games every year. But, you can just scratch off Penn at this point. They were ranked in the preseason, have completely fallen off, terrible losses. I just don't know what's going on down there.
And that Hopkins game, remember last year, was absolutely incredible inside the Dome. And, you have those 3 road games. It's going to be a tough slate upcoming for the Orange, but that's all in the future. It's time to focus on the present right now for, probably one of OPP's best segments, if you will. It's time for my analysts to sound off. Ring the alarms.
All right, you beat Maryland. Great job, guys. Congratulations. You finally got the monkey off your back. It's been nearly 2 decades, and you finally beat the Terps. You also beat a #1 team for the first time in nearly a decade. Okay, cool. What's next? This is a team that has championship aspirations, and I like what I heard in the post-game press conference tonight. It's another game. We're focused on bigger things. The real challenge comes in May. That's where teams are remembered and teams are forgotten. This is a team, this is a senior class that wants to be remembered forever. The only way to do that is to bring home the hardware. And there are some doubters out there. You're going to silence some tonight, but not all of them. Let's get the job done. Let's go to May and let's get some championship hardware back in Syracuse.
Awfully sassy, Ryan, my lord. Listen, if you followed Ryan Croke's media run here at CitrusTV or just know the guy, you also know his go-to phrase. Sure, yeah, it's calm, it's measured, but nights like this, they don't deserve calm and their impact can't be measured. So for tonight, I say hell yeah. Hell yeah to Syracuse staring down the #1 team in the nation and not blinking. Hell yeah to the Orange snapping a 17-year win drought against the Terrapins. And maybe most importantly, hell yeah to Central New York finally having a team that makes you jump off your couch instead of sinking into it. You heard it during the national broadcast of this game. Football season was depressing. Basketball season has been disappointing. But this lacrosse team, it's a pulse. It's got pride, it's got energy, it's got fans and me excited about a Syracuse team for the first time all year, and this doesn't have fans questioning what went wrong or praying for next season. Instead, the only thing that fans are asking themselves when it comes to Syracuse men's lacrosse is this the year they finally win it all? So with all due respect to sure yeah, tonight belongs to something louder. Hell yeah.
That was beautiful. That was so beautiful, my friend. Thank you so much. I like the optimism in you. You're so young and you have so many years ahead of you. Our next Orange Press Pass, though, might not be so exciting, if you will, because it's Syracuse basketball and not lacrosse. Yes, you like to talk about this team all 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, but SMU comes into town tomorrow, a 2 o'clock ball game between the Mustangs and the Orange, and Syracuse kind of fighting right now for a spot in the ACC tournament seating-wise.
Sure, yeah, and you look at all the stats.
Oh, he nailed it.
Yeah. You look at all the stats on the left. Every single one of SMU's stats is highlighted. That's what Syracuse men's basketball has become. Every single one.
I'm not that optimistic when it comes to this basketball team, Andrew. I have enough years on me to know that Syracuse will lose this one, especially after coming off a 50-minute slugfest against Cal. Yeah, Ryan, you said it yourself. Hell no.
Well, it's a long way to go for Syracuse basketball, but lacrosse, it feels like this team, with the way they played today and using that motivation from last year, it feels like this team is in a spot right now to kind of find its really true colors. This was an exciting game, such an exciting show. Nick King, Ryan Croke, Andrew Della, Piana saying so long from our CitrusTV studio. Syracuse finally beats Maryland 11-9.